Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin in Burkina Faso, where at least 60 people have been killed after a gold mine explosion on Monday in a village near Garoua in the southwestern region. Dozens more are said to have been injured, including women and children. Local officials and witnesses say that the blast occurred as explosives stored near a gold panning site blew up.
Images from the scene show a large blast site of felled trees and decimated tin houses. Bodies lay on the ground covered by plastic sheets.
When we arrived, the bodies were scattered. So, with the security personnel which came to reinforce, we had to secure the area and use volunteers to evacuate the bodies.
Many of the dozens of injured people are at the Garoua Regional Hospital Center, although eyewitnesses say the blast happened in the market at the gold mining site when dynamite stored there caught fire. Borno Province High Commissioner says it is not certain on how it happened.
It was probably caused by explosives, but how it happened, for the moment, we do not know.
It was not clear exactly what kind of gold mining went on at the site. Burkina Faso is home to some major gold mines run by international companies, but also to hundreds of smaller, informal sites that operate without oversight or regulation. This unfortunate incident brings back harrowing memories for victims of similar incidents in neighboring Ghana, where at least 13 people lost their lives, livelihoods destroyed and villages flattened by the blast. A regional prosecutor who visited the scene said an investigation has opened into the tragedy.
In neighboring Mali, the country is suing West Africa's monetary union over sanctions imposed on the country after the military junta reneged on a promise to hold early elections. State lawyers are seeking the lifting of the sanctions imposed on Mali, citing a debt crisis. The West African Economic and Monetary Union on January 9 told all financial institutions in its 8-nation group to suspend the country. The regional bloc ECOWAS also imposed sanctions on Mali, which include the freezing of its assets in member nations' commercial banks. Mali's junta took power in 2020 and cancelled elections that were due to be held in February. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has promised to boost relations with African countries as he visited the Senegalese capital Dakar during a 4-day tour of Central and West Africa. During a joint press conference with his Senegalese counterpart, Macky Sall, he says he will continue to enhance Turkey's relations with African countries based on sincerity and solidarity. In 2021, the volume of bilateral trade between Turkey and Senegal reached $540 million. President Erdogan says the goal is to bring the figure to $1 billion. On his part, President Macky Sall praised Turkish companies that have initiated various investment projects in his country and says investments between the two countries should increase even more. Turkish president is set to attend Wednesday's opening ceremony of the Dakar Olympic Stadium, which was constructed by a Turkish company. He is also expected to visit the Democratic Republic of Congo and Guinea-Bissau. Moving down to the South Africa's Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Dr. Naledi Pandor, has called for an end to Operation Dudula, warning that it could lead to xenophobic attacks seen in yesteryears. Operation Dudula, which has gained momentum in the past few weeks, has seen a group of South African nationals march in different areas, the latest being in Hillbrow, Johannesburg, demanding that all illegal foreigners leave the country. The group says they want illegal foreign nationals to leave the country as they blame them for occupying jobs that they say should be held by South African citizens. And the group has also repeatedly claimed that many young citizens have qualifications but have turned to crime, drugs and alcohol because they cannot find work. Our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia, joins us now for more on this. Hello, Betty.
Hello, ma'am.
Well, Nice to see you too. Help us understand what Operation Dudula is all about, or tell us more about this.
Well, Dudula means to uproot. So Operation Dudula, as a grouping, is a group of groupings, different groups who want, their buzzword is defend, reclaim, protect. Defend their economy and their country, reclaim their country and their economy, and then protect the same. So they say they're tired of the high unemployment rate. It's unfortunate they're blaming foreign nationals for this, and they're saying that jobs are being given to foreign nationals who take less money than the locals, and they're preferring the foreign nationals to locals, and that many of them are undocumented or they're illegally in the country. So they're visiting several areas where you have, like Hillbrook that you mentioned, you have a lot of foreign nationals in such places. They're visiting some business areas and questioning people who are operating there. You hear them asking questions, how many South Africans are being employed in this place. There is the fear that some xenophobic elements too will be within. They admit that that's possible, to have that, and they keep. I hear them, some of their leaders saying, "Look, we're not here to hunt people, but we're here to do right by our own people." And they're saying if government cannot do that, although there is a law or a bill in the offing, trying to tackle that, despite the fact that there have been policies in place also ensuring that more South Africans than foreign nationals are being employed. So they're trying to take the laws into their hands lawfully. You have the police in some areas. You have the police saying we haven't given permission, but they still do what they do, and they try to organize themselves, saying we need to have more of our young people, more of our people employed. And that crime is at an all-time high. This is not helped by an incident that happened yesterday here in Johannesburg, a place called Rosettenville, where you had a major shootout between the police and armed robbers who attempted a cash-in-transit heist. And of the people, over 20 people who were involved in this, the police minister, Bekele, claims that more than half of the people are Zimbabwean nationals. About 4 are from KwaZulu-Natal, which is local, and 1 person from Botswana. So he's saying about 20 of the people involved in this, 8 of them were shot dead. Some were even shooting at the police in that operation, the police helicopter. So that's not helped. Again, the claims that foreign nationals are perpetrating a lot of crime in the country. So this is what they're trying to do. But the fear, as the international relations minister is saying, there's a tendency that this will get out of hand and people will capitalize on that and target a lot of law-abiding citizens from other countries who are resident in the country legally as well.
So in the event that, this call is not heeded and this operation, so to speak, does not end, are there plans to, what would be the implication of this on the organizers of this operation from the government?
Government can appeal. They have a right to march once they take permission from the relevant authorities, and you have police presence as well. In some situations of Operation Dudula, some of the operations that have happened, you have the police guiding the foreign nationals away from their home. Very heartbreaking sights, but in some cases when police can't get there early enough, you can't really say what happened, but people are being harassed. I watched a debate on TV where one of the leaders of what they call the Diaspora Forum, Amir Sheikh, and the leader of Operation Dudula, having an argument on what can go wrong in this kind of situation. But it hasn't stopped. It's still going on. It's been going on for a few weeks now. We don't know how it will end, but the fear is that, or the plea is that it doesn't get out of hand. And you have, tomorrow we'll hear the budget speech of the minister, Finance Minister Godongwana, on what next will be happening with the economy. Maybe that will help calm nerves or get people to focus on something else, if they see that government is doing much more to get the economy up and running.
All right then. Thank you, Betty.
Thank you so much.
We're still in southern Africa, but the story is on the environment. A Zambian company has started making diesel and petrol from used tires and plastics. It's a project that is estimated to help slash the nation's $1.4 billion annual fuel import bill and also to clean up the environment. The initiative is reducing the burden of depending on imported fuel and is also encouraging locally produced fuel.
The used tires that litter the back streets of cities and towns in Zambia might be an eyesore, but for one company, they're also an opportunity to make fuel that could slash the nation's energy import bill while cleaning up its trash. The project by Zambia's Central African Renewable Energy Corps currently processes 1.5 tons of waste to make 600 to 700 liters of diesel and gasoline per day on a pilot basis.
Every single day we are processing 1.5 tons of waste every day. So that accumulates to around 45 tons of waste that we are collecting every month and turning into diesel and petrol.
That's hardly enough to dent the country's mountains of waste or its $1.4 billion annual fuel import bill for the 140 million liters of petrol per day it consumes. But for Chief Executive Mulenga, it's the start of something bigger.
We are cleaning up the environment by taking out all this waste and we are converting it into energy in form of diesel, in form of petrol, in form of gas. And the positive contribution is that the gas that we are producing, the petrol that we are producing, the diesel that we are producing is of a much lower cost, or the production cost is so much lower than the normal diesel and petrol that you're getting from your filling stations. And yet the quality of fuel that we are getting here is ultra low sulfur diesel and high octane petrol.
Several companies globally are investing in this process, which involves burning waste rubber and plastic in a reactor and then mixing it with a catalyst to produce diesel, gasoline and LPG. John Stone Chikwanda of the local think tank Energy Forum Zambia says the fuel project could drastically cut Zambia's fuel import bill, create jobs and clean up the environment.
Anyone who comes up with an idea, with a concept that can produce fuel in the country, that particular initiative has to be supported significantly, because it is reducing the burden of depending on imported fuel. It is lessening the burden on looking for forex, because if you are going to be looking for $1.4 billion United States dollars every year, then you can understand why the Zambian kwacha is constantly under pressure.
Motorists showed some enthusiasm in the locally produced fuel, saying it's a good initiative to help reduce the price of fuel.
I can't be using the fuel which I don't know exactly. And from the tires, I don't think it can be the good fuel.
However, some express resistance.
I accept to use the fuel in my car as long as it is properly certified that it can work. There is no problem. Yeah, there is no problem. That's a very good initiative, which is very much welcome.
Waste management is a serious challenge for Zambia, and if people are still using fuel, proponents argue it is better that it comes from recycled waste.
Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is expected to address the country's federal parliament on the conflict that's between the government forces and Tigrayan rebels in the north. Well, this will be his first address to parliament since he won a second term in office last June. Ethiopian federal forces have been fighting rebels loyal to the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, since November 2020. The country is also embroiled in a border row with Sudan and a dispute with Egypt and Khartoum over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Parsons Dam that Abiy Ahmed announced on Sunday has begun electricity generation, and this has prompted angry reactions from Egypt and Sudan. That's because these two downstream countries, they're now calling for a legally binding agreement to resolve this dispute with Ethiopia. The rising cost of food and other basic commodities in Kenya is causing a public uproar in the country. The hashtag lower food prices has been the top trending topic in the country for days now as people protest against the high prices. They're now calling out the government, Kenyans are calling out the government for failing to curb the ever-rising prices. And with the general elections due in August, the matter has also become a campaign issue. Israel is targeting annual trade volume of $500 million with Morocco, up from $131 million currently, as the two countries look to broaden cooperation since they normalized relations in 2020. Israel's economy minister, Orna Babivai, made the statement following talks in Rabat with Moroccan industry and trade minister Riyad Mezor, with whom she signed a trade and investment cooperation deal. Now, under this deal, the two countries commit to facilitating trade and investment in the aerospace, automobile, agri-food, textile and pharmaceutical industries in particular. The agreement is part of the implementation of a deal to resume ties brokered by the Trump administration back in the year 2020. Over 30 websites in Mozambique, including that of the Defense Ministry, were down on Monday after being targeted by hackers. Hacked by Yemeni hackers was the message across these websites, with an image of a man wearing a headscarf and brandishing a machine gun. However, the head of Mozambique's National Institute of Electronic Government, Herminio Jasse, says the problem has now been resolved. Mr. Jasse adds that there was no loss of information or leak of citizens' personal data, while noting that this is the first cyber attack of that magnitude to take place in the country. Some of those websites targeted were the portals of the National Disaster Management, Roads Administration and also water agencies, as well as the Defense Ministry that I mentioned earlier. Well, analysts have called on the government to strengthen cybersecurity amid fears that the attack was carried out by jihadists. Egyptians are facing one of the coldest winters in recent years, and charities say the country's impoverished are those that are mostly affected as they're struggling to stay warm and also face the consequences of COVID-19.
Taking a 50-kilometer commute to Cairo to clean houses and working as a daily laborer in her village is not enough for 36-year-old Mona Fati to support her 5 children and sick husband in El Hayata, Egypt. Living in a badly insulated house with limited means to secure necessities like blankets, Fati's woes are further compounded by a harsh winter.
It was so cold. We were shivering under the blankets. It felt like there was ice outside. But what can we do? We only thank God. We're living in a hot pack here, but good people, may they be blessed, built this room for us.
Rare snowstorms have been hitting the coastal cities of Hurghada and Alexandria this winter, with Egyptians reporting lower temperatures in Cairo and other cities in recent years. Impoverished Egyptians like Fati are not ready to face extreme weather conditions.
I was living in a hut made of mud. The ceiling was made of straw. When it rained, I used to put water basins on the floor for the rain to fall in. We were spreading old clothes on the floor to sit on. We stayed like that for 5 months. It was very difficult. Then good people built this room for us and the bathroom over there. The bathroom is without a ceiling. We stayed in the room and all slept in it. Good people then built 2 other rooms for us and built a ceiling as well. We thank God.
30% of Egyptians fall beneath the government's poverty line, with incomes below £857 a month. Many struggle without running water or sanitation.
During the past 2 years, we started seeing severe cold. The weather is very cold during winter. Egyptians are not prepared. Their clothing, houses, and the things available to them are not equipped to face it. People do not have blankets to cover their children, which can give them the warmth they need in these temperatures. Homes are not thermally insulated. Within Greater Cairo and beyond, many homes do not have a ceiling. People live in houses with sky as their ceiling. These are very dire conditions, which were compounded by the weather and compounded even further with COVID-19. Starting from March 2020, many of our beneficiaries lost their jobs, so there is no fixed income for the families. With the extreme cold, families do not have the means to face it.
The government has already pared back subsidies on electricity and fuel, ushering in annual increases in their price since 2016 as part of market reforms linked to financing the International Monetary Fund.
An Egyptian researcher has designed a wheelchair for people with tetraplegia who cannot voluntarily move the upper and lower parts of their body. Now, the device operates by receiving users' brain waves. The idea comes as a result of the challenges he says he faced from childhood when he was unable to walk at the age of 5.
Right, left, up and down. A brainwave-operated wheelchair is what the Egyptian researcher hopes will aid the physically disabled. Wearing the head units attached to the chair, Abdurrahman Omran can simply move his head in the direction he wishes, and the chair in turn can rotate up to 360 degrees.
There are so many people who do not have control of their arms or legs, and therefore cannot control wheelchairs using a remote or joystick attached to it. So, the idea behind this chair is to help those with paralysis by using head movements or brain waves to move the chair, which will make it easier for them to use electric wheelchairs and move around without needing help from anyone.
Born with a defect that impacted his motor skills, Abdurrahman was not able to walk until the age of 5, but only after several surgeries and a lot of rehabilitation.
The reason I thought of this idea in particular is because I was born with low oxygen levels, and this impacted my cells and motor skills. And until I was around 5 years old, I wasn't able to walk. I had 8 surgeries, and after some rehabilitation, I was able to walk. So from here, the idea of how to help them came about.
The project, which he has been working on since 2015, was taken up by the Arab Organization for Industrialization, who have helped him develop and prepare for mass production.
Today, we're almost ready to announce the end of the final production phase of the chair. The chair is ready. Now we will start mass production. We will start marketing. Hopefully, it will cover many sectors here in Egypt. A very large number will be in need of this chair. After that, we'll start marketing this chair for export. But as I said, Abdurrahman has great ambitions and ideas, and hopefully we'll be able to use his talents and capabilities to keep up with technological advancement and implement them here.
The 24-year-old researcher, with a lot of hard work, designs a device that could help those unable to walk or move their limbs.
And just before we go, let's give you an update from the Economic Community of West Africa States Council of the Wise. The council is now calling for the need for more advocacy for better funding for education, economic and industrial rejuvenation. That's as part of efforts to end coups in West Africa. Chairperson of the council and former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan says this is essential to curb growing unemployment, its related malice, and ultimately strengthen conflict prevention structures. He made the comments at the conclusion of a 2-day strategic retreat and planning workshop of the ECOWAS Council of the Wise held here in Lagos. And that's it on the program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.